And we're back in a park, walking, talking to a camera, looking like a crazy person. That is all right. Today is day 2 of the gift guide, and we're going to switch from focusing on how I select a gift for a certain individual to gift ideas for certain categories. And today we're going to be talking about FPV drones. If you don't know what FPV drones are, they're basically drones that you fly from the perspective of the drone. So you feel like a pilot or Superman. That's kind of why it's so addictive and so much fun. But I'm not here pimping FPV drone piloting. I'm here to give you some gift ideas for the pilot in your life or somebody you want to get into flying FPV drones. Let's start 10 to 20 bucks. And for FPV pilots, 10 to 20 bucks can do quite a lot, but it's also a little tricky because you can get stuff like a spare motor and props, or maybe even batteries, but you need to know a lot about what that person is flying and their preferences. Because say if they're a big gem fan hurricane prop, or maybe say they like the Advan prop for their little tiny whoop, there's a lot of information that you need to know to get somebody props. Obviously, if you know that information, props are an excellent gift. Or if you're buying them a drone and you want something little to add extra, props, possibly batteries. We'll talk about that in a second. With that said, that is why I think gift cards for any of these dollar amounts, perfect. And I would get it to an FPV specific store. There's Get FPV, Race Day Quads, Pyro Drone out in California. These are all great places that have great selection. Hobbyists trust them, great support. Honestly, you can't go wrong. And I would definitely, for under 20 bucks, get them a gift card. They'll appreciate it immensely, because for 20 bucks you can get 5 pairs of props. You can go through up to 5 pairs of props in a good freestyle session where you maybe have some accidents. Or maybe you need that spare motor because you burned it out in that wicked bando. Sorry, I'm using a bunch of jargon, but either way, first, props. If you don't know that or what they fly, gift cards are perfect. Next, I highly recommend something like the eThings prop tool. Even if they already have a prop tool, having something small that they can keep in their car, their pocket, their backpack, and always have it with them, it will save a session. Nothing sucks more than getting to the field and realizing you forgot your prop tool and you can't either install your props or change your props once you break one. It kills a session. Get them one of these little prop tools, they'll keep it with them, and when you save one of their sessions with that prop tool, they'll be thinking of you. Next, under 20 bucks, Race Day Quads actually has a great toolkit. It's a complete toolkit with everything but like a soldering iron that you need to build a full quad. You could actually, with that toolkit, put together a quad from parts. I think there's no better gift than that, especially for a newer pilot who maybe doesn't have all the tools they need to repair and build. Great way to go. Cannot recommend it enough. And that's really, I would say, my best gift ideas for that sub $20 category. Let's now jump to the 50 and under category. And at 50 and under, we have a few more options. Sticking with tools, highly recommend something like this Newbie drone toolkit. It basically takes that Race Day Quad toolkit and upgrades it both in the quality of tool, but also adds a soldering iron. So now not only can you pretty much build the quad, you can build a quad. Next, in that kind of sub $50 category, there's a little electronic device called a Speedy B V3 Adapter. For those not into FPV, this is going to go a little over your head, but just understand that this is a really cool thing. When you're out in the field, sometimes you need to make tweaks to your quad. You need to tune it, you need to change a setting, and to do that, you generally need to plug in a USB micro cable into your quad, or USB-C cable into your quad, pull up the Betaflight app, and basically go through and change the settings. This Speedy B adapter basically takes out that cable. You plug it in, you can connect wirelessly to that drone. It is a wonderful little tool, and definitely something that's great for anybody out at the field who needs to make that last minute tweak to their quad, change a tune, whatever you need to do. Next, let's move on to another thing. This is almost in that $20 category, sits slightly above, but a build mat. When you're building quads, there's a lot of little bits, pieces, screws, solder, stuff like that that can make your workplace messy. And if you're not in a dedicated shop space, some people don't want leaded solder on their countertops. Basically for 24 bucks, there's this little silicone pad that has little compartments for your screws and nuts and washers and other quad parts. It has tool organization, and also it protects the surface you're working on. So if you get some solder on the build mat, great, it falls right off and it's all good to go. Keeps everything clean, keeps everything organized. It's a great little accessory for anybody who's building quads. And then last but not least, in this under $50 category, this is a little bit of a luxury item, but I think it's ISDT is the acronym, I'm blanking on it at the moment, but a battery checker. You can get cheaper battery checkers, but this guy, it's about 40 bucks and it is amazing. It tells you the voltage in each of the cells in your battery. It gives you battery health. It gives you so much information about how the pack is doing. It really helps with troubleshooting, and also, like, say you think you charged your battery and you're about to head out to the field, you can double check with this battery checker. Highly recommend it. I think it's one of the greatest little tools. This is a complete luxury item at $40. Most pilots aren't going to have it. So if you want a gift for that experienced FPV pilot that'll really knock their socks off, grab this battery checker. It is fantastic. Last item in that sub 50 category are going to be race gates. You can get them both small and large. I linked to a set from Beta FPV down in the description, but they're basically just wire surrounds, fabric kind of on the inside, and they allow you to set up little obstacle courses to fly your drones through. They're great in the winter for setting up indoor courses, great in the summer because you can turn your yard literally into a race course. They are awesome. They're relatively inexpensive. They're really durable and they're really fun. You can kind of go a little crazier. Some will include LEDs in the surround, so it looks like you're flying through like a Tron level. Really cool gift, and great for any FPV pilot, whether they're into freestyle, because you can start doing tricks through those same race gates, or great for a prospective racer who wants to practice setting a fast lap. But race gates are always good. The more the better. So if you want to get a couple of sets of race gates, or I guarantee even on Etsy you could find some race gates that are customized to the individual you're purchasing the gift for. But race gates are always awesome. Next, we're going into that sub 100 category. So under 100 bucks, it gets a little weird for FPV drones, and why a gift card may be the best option in this price point. Because for a lot of people, parts are going to kind of be the thing that price point wise is in this category. But unless you know what the type of quad is they're flying, what flight controller they like, what kind of frame they fly, it's a little difficult to get parts for somebody. And also it feels weird if you just give them a big bag of motors. For a lot of people that doesn't seem like a great gift. Obviously to an FPV pilot that's a phenomenal gift, but again, requires a little bit too much. So for under 100 bucks, the thing I would say is get them a good soldering iron. There's basically two options. One is ever so slightly over that $100 mark. Right now it's $104 on Amazon, but the Haka, or I think it's Hake, digital soldering station. So if you want to get them something for building quads at home, it is amazing. You can digitally control the temperature, gives you more control when building, has all of the little bits and bobs, place to clean the soldering tip. It's a great soldering iron. It's the one I personally use. If you want to get them something that's more portable, or just a great soldering iron in general, for $50 to $60, somewhere in there, depending on what sales are going on that week, the TS100 portable soldering iron is awesome. You can either plug it into the wall, you can digitally control the temperature with 2 buttons on the little iron. It's also portable. You can plug it into a 4S LiPo battery with the same connector you use for the drones. Power your soldering iron completely in the field. Great for field repairs, great for traveling. I have one in my personal portable toolkit. It's awesome. I used it recently when we were up in New Hampshire, and I had a little crash trying to learn a move called a Matty flip, which is kind of this inverted front flip. Hit the ground a little too hard, blew one of the wires off of my flight controller. I had my soldering iron there, fixed, good to go. At under $250, we're now gonna start to talk about ready-to-fly drones. If you're shopping for a newer pilot or a prospective FPV pilot, I would highly recommend going and checking out one of the ready-to-fly kits, like the ones linked in the description from Beta FPV and Emax. I personally started with an Emax Tiny Hawk 2, exactly the kit that's linked down below, and I loved it. It comes with a goggle, a controller, the drone, some extra props, I think 1 or 2 batteries. Obviously more batteries is a great idea for an additional stocking stuffer gift. But it's a great way to get somebody into the hobby, starting out their flying endeavor. If I was to do it again or give a recommendation which kit to go with, if it's available, I think the Beta Flight, I think it's pronounced Cetus or Cetus. That kit comes with the Beta FPV, I think it's called like the Light Radio 2, but that controller you can plug into your computer and use with a simulator. So if you don't want to jump immediately into the drone, or you want to play with a simulator, trying out what it feels like to fly one of the bigger drones, perfect. I think that Beta FPV Cetus kit provides a controller that can grow with you a little bit. Obviously the goggles aren't the best quality, but they work. And for indoor flying, the whole system, excellent, highly recommended. If you're buying for a more experienced FPV pilot, we're now in whoop season. As you can see, the ground is wet. It's probably gonna snow in a little bit. It's cold, it's windy. It's not great weather. But because of that, we take our flying indoors. And for indoors, you want a smaller ducted drone so you don't destroy your house and make your significant other or parent mad. I would recommend shopping for a Tiny Whoop. For about 130 bucks, you can get one of the Emax Tiny Hawks I mentioned before. You can get the freestyle one. Newbie drone makes the Acro Bee, which is great. There's a lot of different options for analog pilots that'll pair with their standard radio for the most part. There are some exceptions, and if you have more in-depth questions, I would actually recommend going to Get FPV, going to Race Day Quads, the website, and their customer support team actually can walk you through selecting the right drone for your person. In the same vein as the Tiny Whoops, if the person you're buying for flies the DJI FPV system, the air unit, the controller, and the goggles from DJI, not the DJI FPV drone that looks like a little like alien spaceship. But if they do fly the digital FPV system, you could get them something like the Beta 75 XHD. So just over that $250 price point, DJI pilots can finally have a little drone they can rip around indoors using their controller and their goggles. And I think it's a great idea. It is a little expensive. Most of the DJI equipped stuff is a little more expensive. So it's just kind of with the territory. But nearly within that price point, you can get a almost Tiny Whoop for DJI pilots. Last little addition for the $250 and under category is a backpack. If the person that you're buying for is an FPV pilot and they don't already have a good FPV backpack, it's a great gift, because when you go out to fly, you have to bring a lot of stuff with you. You have to bring batteries, tools, the quad, your goggles, controller, all the rest of that stuff. And so some place to put it, keep it organized, is a great way to go. And I would highly recommend getting them a good FPV backpack. It'll serve them for years. Generally the top tier of the line, and again, we're talking about a higher price point, is the Tourville, forget the actual thing, but it's Stealth Pro backpack. Great option. There are less expensive options from stuff like iFlight, from Race Day Quads, other manufacturers that would be down the other price points. But again, you want a backpack that'll last, that'll hold everything, keep your precious gear safe. Let's get unlimited. We're going right to the roof now. This category is going to be kind of the be-all end-all. And this time I'm going to start with the experienced FPV pilots and finish with beginner pilots. Usually I wouldn't recommend new or beginner pilots going down this route, with maybe one exception. But again, if you're jumping in 2 feet to the fire, let's get into it. First, let's talk goggles. Whether you fly digital or analog, Sharkbite or DJI, I would recommend, if the person you're buying for doesn't already have a really nice set of goggles, like the Fat Shark HDO2s, again, 500 bucks, or the DJI goggles V2, also about 600 bucks, or the Orca, oh, I forget the letter in front of the 4. But any of those higher end goggles, highly recommend choosing it as a gift, because this is something they're going to use constantly. Regardless of what drone they're using, they always need a good set of goggles. Goggles are something that don't break often, they last for a while, they can't fly away on you, so they're a pretty good investment, and a good set of goggles can make the experience that much better. You will have to have a little bit more awareness for this of what they fly, because if they fly DJI, there's only one option for goggles. If they fly analog, there's a few options for goggles. But good set of goggles, great way to go. Linked a couple in the description. Next, you could get them a more premium remote. For DJI, this is really not an option. There's only one DJI remote, and if they fly DJI, they have that remote. If they fly any of the other controlling systems, you can get a more premium remote. Radiomaster has the TX16S, which is a great remote, linked in the description, or something like the radios from Spectrum, or even FreeSky. FreeSky tends to be a little less expensive, kind of that entry level, but again, more premium radios, investing that money, it's something you'll use for a long time, it lasts, a great way to go in that kind of unlimited price tier. From remotes and goggles, let's now talk bind and fly drones in this unlimited category, because you have a bunch of different options. And since a lot of people have their kind of standard 5-inch freestyle drone or 5-inch racing drone, I think for a present, you can have a little bit more fun here. Pick something that they may not already have. For this, I kind of go towards either something like a Cinewhoop, which you can find ready to fly Cinewhoops from places like iFlight, or Rotor Riot has a pre-built Cinewhoop around that $500–600 price point that works with both DJI, or you can get versions with analog. Highly recommend either option, but it's a cool additional drone that the person may not have a chance to, or have had a chance to fly, or wouldn't buy for themselves. You can go the other direction and go kind of big. So there's different kind of sizes of drones. You can move up to kind of the X class, the big guys, and get something like the 7-inch Chimera from iFlight, which again comes in both an analog and a DJI version. Both of them great options for pilots that may already have a 5-inch freestyle build. This is something that they can go out if they're chasing stuff like drift cars. This is a little bit faster, and it's a little bit more efficient, longer flight times, but it's something that they may not have had experience with. So getting them that experience is a great way to go. And again, about the $500 price point for pre-built 7-inch drones. Obviously you can go up from there, but great way to go. Next, let's talk about something weird. There's also some weirder versions of drones or quadcopter. No, this is not a quadcopter. There are also weirder variants that also are great gift ideas, like the Flywoo, I think it's the Firefly Hex. So it is a hexacopter, which means it has 6 motors, 6 propellers, 6 arms. The thing looks insane. And I think something like this is really cool as a gift, because very few people will go out of their way to buy something like a hexacopter, but it's a cool, sorry, crinkling leaves. It's a cool thing to add into somebody's drone portfolio. They're fun to fly, really interesting, different flight characteristics from the standard 3-inch or tiny whoop or 5-inch drones. Great option. And there are tons of other pre-built drones. These are just some of the ones that I think are great ways to go. So now let's dive into the more beginner unlimited. And again, this I think is a little crazier to kind of do, because if you don't really know you're gonna love FPV drones, spending more than $500 I think is not the best idea, because it can mean wasting a lot of money. But again, to each their own. If you're buying for a newer flyer, you can get more premium ready to fly kits. You can get full 5-inch drones, full cinewhoops with goggles and controllers. These bind and fly kits are available from Get FPV, Race Day Quads, Rotor Riot. They all make a kit that would include a premium set of goggles, a premium controller, and then a premium 5-inch or cinewhoop type drone. These kits generally don't come with everything you need, generally more props, batteries. These things kind of all need to be purchased separately, but for about the $1,000 to $1,500 range, you can get a ready to fly, full-on 5-inch freestyle rig. You can even get pro spec models from the pilots at Rotor Riot. Finally, for a newer pilot, again, if money is no object, the last, I would say, suggestion and the last item on this list is the DJI FPV Drone. This is the full-on spaceship, comes with goggles, comes with a remote, comes with more props. Would highly recommend, if it's a newer pilot, getting the DJI Care, because boy, you're gonna crash. But the DJI FPV Drone takes all of the safety features and precautions that you find in the Mavic drone series and puts it on an FPV drone. For example, there's literally an escape button. There's a pause button that if you push it, even if you're inverted, upside down in a dive, whatever, it brings you to a flat level hover more or less instantly. It can prevent you from having big crashes, losing your drone, all the things that can happen to an FPV pilot. This basically has a panic button. So for newer pilots, if you're gonna go all in, whole hog insane, and you wanna get the best of the best for a newer flyer, at $1,300, you can't do better than the DJI FPV system. For the DJI FPV system, DJI FPV Drone. With that, that is my gift list. So from start to finish, starting with inexpensive all the way to the crazy, that is what I would recommend for your FPV pilot that you're buying for this holiday season. If you have any questions, please hit me up on Instagram, hit me up in the comments. I will respond to as many as I see. Thank you all for joining me. Please subscribe. I'm posting more of these videos. I'm gonna do at least 3 more, one for whiskey, one for mountain bikes, one for video games. With that said, thank you all for joining me. Peace. Bye.